Hello my friends, and welcome to an extremely controversial video. As a disclaimer before anything else, let me just state that I am not a lawyer, this is not legal advice, this is just my opinion. If you're going to take any legal action based on this video, you are probably being irrational. So don't do it. Regardless, among creators and artistic lovers of anime on YouTube and around the internet, it has become important to not only express love for our favorite shows, but to denounce piracy of anime as well. Thanks to online, on-demand subscription services, fans no longer have to deal with just highly overpriced DVDs for only the most popular titles or extremely overpriced imports. For the longest time, the best way for a Western fan of anime to support their favorite shows was not through consuming the shows themselves, but through art books, posters, models, and any number of collectibles that supported the official brands. The shows themselves were mostly unavailable through legal channels. But now the growth of streaming, simulcast services like Crunchyroll, Funimation, and Bandai Namco give us less excuses to not support our entertainment directly. But years of a growing piracy industry cannot simply be undone. While I think there is still a case to be made for the role of piracy in this still emerging industry. Now don't get me wrong, it is still important to support the legal means of production whenever possible. Only by actually funding the studios and license holders can we hope to encourage the production of new and better shows in the future. And it is quickly becoming apparent that the anime industry will need money from non-Japanese markets to stay profitable in the future. Animators themselves are already living below the minimum wage, and their average quality of life is dropping. All of this is to say that this is a very serious topic, and that I take it seriously. But with a situation as complex as this, the solution cannot be as simple as all X are good, all Y is bad, only support X. In order to understand the issue, we need to look at who the powerhouses of the anime licensing industry are now, where they came from, and some basic economic theory to understand the role that piracy is playing. First, who are the industry powerhouses right now? Easy answer. Bandai Namco, Funimation, and of course, Crunchyroll. I want to include Amazon in this list, not because they are a powerhouse of anime streaming, but the company is powerful enough that, now that it's entered the anime race, it basically gets a free pass. Funimation is well known for being the licensor and dubber of most of our Saturday morning anime from childhood. Bandai Namco, having started as a legitimate Japanese business, and a company that specializes in anime, video games, and toys, found an easier entry into the United States market than their average Japanese competitor, thanks to the United States cartoon industry coming out of a period where animation was defined as being a medium for children, and the average show devolving into long-form commercials designed to get children to beg their parents to buy the show's official toys. The anime industry wasn't just small in the United States. It basically did not exist. It was an interesting side note to television bundles and toy sales. Only the rare show came to the States. Anime didn't just happen. Nearly the entire anime fandom relied on the most hardcore fans to share this esoteric entertainment with the country. Fansubbers. And their work hosted almost exclusively without licenses, illegally, on torrent and streaming websites. And it is through these sites that most of the community that exists first found the ability to expand their hobby. Crunchyroll, unlike Funimation and Bandai Namco, got its start as an illegal hosting service, just over 11 years ago, in an already saturated piracy industry. And now, Crunchyroll is the biggest name in anime licensing. So how did it get there? Well, that leads into my second point. A pirate with a market is better for business than an old pro without an audience. Crunchyroll, like many illegal streaming services, did one thing, and they did it well. They provided for the desires of anime fans. This means more than just giving the anime away for free. It means providing means to evaluate which shows to watch, tracking progress through those shows, and providing a place for community and discussion. Crunchyroll and other pirate streaming sites provided that which the legitimate businesses did not. They provided not just the product, but the service. They understood the audience rather than just capitalizing on the audience's voracity and desperate consumerism. Why did Crunchyroll succeed at this, where the big dogs failed? Because they only answered to one master, the fans. They had no other interests to worry about, and thus could build a specialized and marketable skill set. Crunchyroll, like others, operated semi-legally. While the content they hosted was unlicensed, stolen shows, they would leave it untouched until the owners of the legitimate licensor directly requested that they remove and block their properties from the site. Crunchyroll would do so quickly and with good graces. In 2008, only 2 years after their inception, Crunchyroll received a $4 million investment from Venrock, the venture capital firm. They began to expand and obtain licenses legally, and in 2009, at 3 years old, Crunchyroll announces that it's going to go fully legal. To my knowledge, Crunchyroll is the only illegal streaming service that was able to accomplish this. But back in 2008, the $4 million investment was met with outrage, with Funimation stating publicly that illegal activities of sites like Crunchyroll would, quote, make the expensive and time-consuming work of producing anime content for the United States market impossible, end quote. And they went on to say that, quote, we will continue to act in the best interests of our Japanese licensors, and that includes that our industry as a whole has a commercial future, end quote. And Bandai Namco came in to describe Crunchyroll and sites like it as, quote, an epidemic that will undermine the future of the anime business in Japan and the United States, going on to say that they will continue to, quote, fight against the negative impact on the US anime industry. Fast forward to today, and everyone hails Crunchyroll for creating legal means to watch hundreds of shows cheaply and with a wide array of services to make doing so faster and easier. Funimation and Crunchyroll have partnered to encourage their audience to also use the other services and established Verve in order to combine their respective subscriber bases as well as establish a platform for other licensors to join. And for years, despite their roots, Crunchyroll has also denounced anime piracy for the sake of the industry's future. Crunchyroll's success is positive evidence that Funimation and Bandai's past claims were false. So why would that be the case? Surely not paying the creators would mean that the industry doesn't get paid, right? Wrong. Because back then, the legal side of the industry was almost exclusively Bandai, Funimation, and a few small others. They accounted for only a minuscule percent of the shows in Japan. The markets they were protecting were their own, but the US market, which covered everything else, was still a pirate market. So why now are competitors Crunchyroll and Funimation joining forces? Don't they regard each other as competitors? No. Because their true competitors is still the pirate market that started the United States anime fandom in the first place. Which brings me to my last point. Monopolies, free markets, and competition. Legal streaming service companies that originate in the States have what I would call a pseudo-monopoly. At least until the older, slower methods of buying DVD imports becomes available, these streaming service companies are the only legal channels to consume the media. By the time the other methods become available, the social event of a community enjoying a show together has already passed. The popularity has already moved on to something else, and the fan who chooses this method must perpetually feel left out. While their services are growing, the amount of anime that the states can obtain legally through these services is still a trickle compared to the industry as a whole. Japanese companies don't want to take on the risk of simultaneously trying to jump into a foreign market and a highly specific consumer economy that they have no experience with on their own dime. There is enough risk in trying to be a profitable anime in Japan on its own. So Japanese companies Don't try to follow in Bandai Namco's footsteps. By insisting that the market only use the very limited legal means, Crunchyroll and Funimation will ensure that licensors only look to them. By expanding themselves, they can therefore claim to help the industry as a whole, because they almost nearly are the whole industry. So what are monopolies good for? Well, they are extremely profitable for the monopolies themselves. And that's about it. Quality of services don't need to expand while prices can be set without fear of more competitive pricing emerging for essentially the same service. Free markets and competition, on the other hand, are good primarily for consumers. And by consumers, I don't just mean the anime fandom, but the Japanese licensors as well. Imagine for a moment that, in 2008, not just Crunchyroll, but 4 other illegal streaming sites got massive investors and headed on the path to turning into legal business models like Crunchyroll, that provided simulcast anime as a subscription service, an expanded backlog of library of older shows, and worked directly with Japanese licensors to agree on compensation. This would mean that the creators of anime would be more empowered to shop around and look for better compensation for their creation. The streaming sites themselves would have to compete with each other to have larger exclusive libraries of shows, provide more value to fans, and do so at the lowest justifiable cost. The result is that the streaming industry as a whole would have been a larger market. More money goes to supporting the anime industry, more shows are provided to anime fans through legal channels, and lower prices for the services that reflect the market. With more Crunchyroll-type services, the industry as a whole would be stronger. More anime comes in, more money changes hands, more competitive services, and more growth overall develop, all of which would be operating legally. But SocraTetris, I hear you cry. We don't need pirates anymore. Companies can just start up legally now and do everything the right way. Well, my answer to that is twofold. First, show me a company who has never done anything illegal, and I will show you a liar. Second, look at Anime Strike, Amazon Prime's newly launched additional premium anime service. Look at its garbage organizational subscriber tools and pricing models. That is what happens when parties who already have the finances to hop into an industry as newborns, without the experience of the pirate market to guide them, try to compete with the old dogs and the pirate-turned-entrepreneur. It may catch the passing interest of Amazon customers, but the vanguard of the fandom will retreat to the services that we know can provide something worthwhile. So here is the conclusion. We need to stop the wholesale demonization of anime piracy. We need to embrace the pirate market history of weeb culture. We need to encourage big-name companies looking to enter the anime streaming service market to invest in smaller, experienced streaming websites to be the flag bearers for their operations. Empower them to grow toward their audiences, and then acquire or partner with the company fully, just as Crunchyroll did in the past. But don't misunderstand this conclusion either. The kind of pirates we support must be running a model that at least has the potential to legalize. That means torrent downloading is no good. They drain the market without putting money anywhere into a legitimizable service. If you do use a streaming site, make sure that they are complying with removing any shows that do get licensed. And don't use any website that uses predatory ads for their ad revenue. Basically, you should be looking for websites that seem to be following a similar path to Crunchyroll from 2006 to 2009. Now listen, I'm going to reiterate. You should still support the legal channels of watching anime, and I'm going to make it clear that I have nothing against any of the legal services or their business practices. To prove that, I have a Crunchyroll subscription myself. I use it multiple times every week and frequently binge anime that I find on that site. And every anime you've seen clips from in this video is a title that you can find on Crunchyroll.com. But I'm calling for the industry as a whole to embrace more competition and seek more emerging businesses, because the more we can legitimize anime streaming, the better it's going to be for everyone in the industry. Those who enjoy and consume anime, and also those who are making it for us. Thank you for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed the past however many minutes of controversy I just spat into a microphone, please subscribe to the channel to see what I come up with next week, and share this video to help the channel grow. I don't pay anyone to market this channel to anyone else, so it is only with your help that this channel can grow. I hope to see you next week, and as always, stay true.